Hey, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Take a Stand show. I'm your host, Tracy Wilson, coming at you from the Gold Coast in Australia. And today, I've got a very special guest with me today. And I want to say a huge thank you to her because guess what? Where she is, it's like 2 a.m. in the morning. So she has stayed up till the wee hours of the morning to be here present with us on the Take a Stand show to share with you how she's actually come back. She's come back really strong after some major setbacks in her life. And I'm going to tell you that Josephine Sandra, who's with us today, she's a coach, she's an author, she's a mentor to many women all over the world to help them do exactly the same. So when they're going through some difficult times or they're living with chronic pain in their life, she has become the voice to enable them to also have a voice, to enable them to stand up and stand out in a really authentic way that is, really, I'm going to say, warm to the things that they are going through in their life right now. So I want to say a huge thank you to her. I want to thank her for being here at some crazy hour of the morning, which is highly unusual for people to say, yeah, I'll jump on your show and I'll jump on your podcast, even though it is 2 a.m. in the morning. I would much rather up in my bed, nice and warm and sleeping. But for today, I'm going to be here and present with you guys. So thank you so much for being here and welcome to the Take a Stand show.
Thanks, Tracy, for having me. It's called Take a Stand.
That's exactly right. And that's what we do, huh? You just take a stand and you say, yes, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be on a show regardless of what time it is. So let's kind of give everybody today a little bit of your background. So, there was a time in your life where you had some major setbacks, and let's talk about those. And then in the context of how does one, when you're going through those really difficult times in your life, how do you get yourself to a point where you're like, okay, I'm here, but I'm going to bounce back. I'm going to bounce back, and I'm going to do it in a really, in a way that is stronger than ever. So take us back to that time in your life where you had that major setback happen.
Thanks, Tracy, for having me, and everyone who is here. Thank you so much. We love being here. We love what we do. This is why we show up, to inspire and empower you to do the things to show you how things can be done. From a personal perspective, I had a personal injury over 4 years ago that now left me wheelchair bound. And I had a young son who was 5. He became a young carer. So he was looking after me and taking care of me. Like he stopped being a boy to look after me because I was going through all the pain, all the disability that I have now with my mobility issues. And I nearly thought that I would never be able to make it. But I got to a point whereby the pain was invisible. Sometimes when you look good, sometimes when you put makeup, people don't see what now turns to be chronic pain, what turns to be a disability, because not everyone has a disability that is visible, even when they can smile. And one of the challenges that I got, people were like, your smile, but deep down, I was damaged, I was broken, but having to see my son going through the things that he was struggling with, his mental health and well-being, his performance at school, I had to say, do you know what? I had to find a reason bigger than myself, even when I didn't want to leave, even when I felt like the world had fallen apart. I didn't have any money. I lost the job. I nearly became bankrupt. But I was like, you know what? I am not that person. This is not who I am. I need to be better than I am. When I had my son, I had a dream, I had a vision, I had goals, I had all these things that I wanted to achieve. But something along the way that we never ever get prepared for comes along and it smashes you right in the face. So I had to find a reason bigger than myself to get back up. And that point for me, it was my son. I was like, you know what? Yes, my son was my big why to get back up.
Well, firstly, congratulations to you, because, when being a mum myself, and having had little ones, and having an experience like you've had, where it's been a major setback, and that's not only impacted you but impacted your children, and then having to watch him, have to grow up really fast and try and look after his mum, is a testament to you, because of the work that you put in. Obviously, prior to having the accident, he wouldn't have been able to do that had you not instilled him with a lot of the skill and the love and the compassion that you need to be able to look after and take care of somebody else. So firstly, congratulations for that. The second thing that I want to go to is, you talk about this, having that major setback, and for a lot of you had two choices at that moment, right? Which one was, okay, well, this has happened to me, and I can sit and I can wallow in my self-pity, and and be all consumed by what has gone on. But the other option you had was go, you know what, I need to dig really deep, and I need to find something that is going to help me to pull myself out of this almost this mindset, and this uh, jail that you'd created for yourself in your mind, because the body, being in that situation is one restraint, and the other is our mind. And then you being able to kind of take hold of your mindset and say, I'm going to find something within me that is bigger than me, that gives me a reason to get up and just keep going. And you being able to then draw on, it's my son. When you did that, so the first thing is, like, how did you get to the point where you knew, I've got to find something bigger than me? Why was that so important?
It was important because I knew what had happened wasn't no fault of my own. I had to tune into myself and found out, yes, something has happened. I accepted that. That, you know what? Over 4 years, nearly 4 years, I cried, I sobbed, I did all the things that you could usually do when you're depressed, and none of that made sense. And I was like, you know what? I cannot live like this for the rest of my life and see my son suffer. So acknowledging that and accepting that, actually, do you know what? I cannot live like this any longer. I started to change the limiting beliefs, the things, the thoughts that I was telling myself, the thoughts that came to me, the things that, the negative thoughts, the limiting beliefs, the thinking that I can't do this. I started to change my mindset, the way I thought, the way I saw things, went into neuro-linguistic programming. And I'm like, you know what? This is not me. I need to get back up. And how can I come back up? By knowing that something happened, accepting it, acknowledging it, and then knowing that I need to take action. I call that the 3 A's to get back up.
So that those 3 A's, like acknowledgement,
Yeah, acceptance,
acceptance, and then action.
and action. Yes.
I love that. So, as far as any kind of setback that we have, I mean, those 3 A's would be something you could fall back on anytime you have a setback. It's like, okay, so I accept that this is happening. I acknowledge that something's going on, right here. Now I'm going to, what do I need to do to actually make a difference, make a change? What needs to be different? Because you then realizing that, hold on, what's gone on? I'm sobbing, I'm crying, I'm, all of these things. And then realizing this is not what I want. This is not what my life needs to, that my life doesn't need to be this way, but it starts with me accepting what's happened and now being able to take some action to make a change and make a difference. Then you're going deep and digging deep and saying, well, now I've got to find a something that's bigger than me, a bigger purpose, a bigger meaning to why I need to keep moving forward.
Yes. Yes.
And so that started obviously with your son, and then you starting to do some form of, you went down the path of personal development.
Absolutely. And then from that, I was able to go on to explore me a bit more further, identifying I stopped looking at the things I could not do to the things I could manage to do. What are those things that actually brought joy, happiness, even when it felt like waking up? Because when you have a setback, it's actually a setup for your comeback. So you don't see that just yet, but it's preparing you, doing the solid foundation that once you have that set back up and you find a reason bigger than yourself to get back up here, that's a foundation for you to come up, because it's actually what I have been through that helped me to find my soul divine called purpose to do what I do now, because I was there and no longer want. I don't want any other women to suffer, to go through what I went through, to leave it too late, to think that they can't do it. And yeah, that's how I dragged myself out there. I forced myself to come out there, find the gratification, like being grateful for who I am, for being here. There's so many people who are deaf, you know, and they can't speak, they can't express themselves. But I had a son, I had um, a life. I had something that I could do, that I could smile for. What are those little things? It doesn't have to be big, because when you've had a setback, you can't think that you need to get up the ladder before actually taking step by step. And when you have not prepared yourself to get up the steps, you might get all the way up and fall right back, and then not, and you're like, you know what? No, I'll give up. But becoming an overcomer out of
Yeah.
that, it has been a great tool for me.
And I love the way that you've looked at that you're looking at this, is that, you know, whenever you have a setback, it's actually setting you up for
Mhm.
your comeback, for the next thing. And you know,
Yeah,
I've heard this, you know, making your message. You know, when we have
yeah,
a mess or a challenge or you know, a setback in our life,
mhm,
and you then can, you know, take the bull by the horns and say, well, I'm going to acknowledge this, I'm going to accept it, and now I'm going to take some action. That then puts you in the power seat to be able to move forward. You've taken your power back, and
yeah,
from being powerless to, you know,
yeah.
sitting, oh, this has
Powerful.
happened to me. Yeah, you become really
Yeah,
powerful because you've taken that power back by acknowledging, by accepting, and now being able to take some level of action. And I love that mindset shift of,
yeah,
what am I going to focus on? Well, I'm not going to focus on all the things I can't do. I'm going to focus on the things that I can do, the things that light me up, the things that bring me joy, the things that I can be, you know, constantly and forever grateful for. Like, what are those things that I focus on? When you did that, like, how rapidly did things start to change for you?
well, I started to think that actually what I'm going through or what I struggle with cannot define me if I don't allow it. So, not allowing that, actually, no, I'm not going to allow it. I'm not giving it the power, or it does not, it has nothing to do with my future. So, by doing that, taking action, taking a step by step. So I had to do this mind map. Like, I did a lot of journaling. This is why I started to write my first book. I was literally brain dumping, like as you do journaling and brain dumping.
Mhm.
Every step I took, I could jot it down, I could write it down, I could reflect on it, I could just say, like, you know what, that's done. So every day is the action that I took was a result from the same day that if I took action today, I now would get result. I wouldn't be where I am now if I took action. Like, for example, I've had to have the courage, the resilience to come and be here today.
Mhm.
I could have said, you know what, no, 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 I'm not going to do it. But because I never gave up, I did not consider the option of giving up, because I want to inspire the people. And when I did that, it took step by step, because everything that I did was built onto the other. And I saw a bit lighter. I felt myself a bit happier. I saw myself opening up a bit more rather than, being intrusive, like keeping things to myself. I was more open to talk about me, talk about what I struggle with, talk about, what I have overcome, started to reach out to the press. And I saw people reaching out to me. And then every time I reached out, people reached out to me. I was like, oh, and they gave me some wonderful feedback. It built me. It built me. And that's how rapidly things started. From the beginning of lockdown, I was bedridden. I couldn't even stand. So, and then from that point, when people rang up to say, Josephine, how did you cope during COVID, for the past 3-4 years of your life bedridden? Because now they started to realize that being homebound was a nightmare and people couldn't cope. So I was started to be concerned because I was being vocal, posting on social media about my life. They now came to me to ask questions. How did you cope? How is this? How can we do this? How can you do this? And I was given more feedback, and that's how rapidly things started to develop. And in August, I published my first book.
Good for you. Congratulations. Good for you. What's
Thank you.
what I like about, I mean, your story of, you know, when you're hit with challenges and adversity in your life, the thing that you've done has actually been to take that and turn it into your life's mission. Now it's
Mhm.
become the thing that you do. Had that not happened to you, and like you said, that setback has become my major comeback. It's like,
Absolutely.
what is it that journaling and being able to note everything down and document your story, but then taking a stand and saying, well, hey, this has happened to me. I'm acknowledging it and I'm accepting it, and the action I'm going to take is to actually be vulnerable and
Mhm.
share my story with others. And that taking that action of sharing your story and your journey with other people, I mean, that in
Absolutely.
and of itself has been a snowball effect, right? Because it's been like you've started to impact a few people around you, and then all of a sudden the message gets a little bit, goes a little bit wider, and you start impacting more people, and then the press get involved, and all of a sudden you're starting to almost create this movement that says,
Absolutely.
hey, if you are somebody like me who has had a setback in their life, you don't have to stay there. You become the beacon of hope and of light that I
Yeah.
can follow. I can follow this woman now because if she's done it, I
Mhm.
can do it too.
Absolutely. This is why I was branded the setback to comeback queen, because I've been there, I've done it, and what I've done is like to literally share my message, but also listen to what other people are saying. You know, share and listen to what other people are saying, and once you listen, then you take notice rather than share. People are able to open up a bit more. They're very quiet, they're very scared. When you struggle when you've had a setback from someone who used to wear high heels, walk a certain way, look a certain way, to now putting on a lot of weight, being wheelchair bound, there's so many other people who are actually hiding away from that and not sharing it, but deep down, they're damaged. And I'm like, if
Mm.
you share that and someone say, oh, she has as well, I need to open up. People slotting themselves into their DMs. And they're like, Josephine, I know what you're talking about. I resonate with what you've shared today. Uh, can I please have some, can you help? How can
Can
you
you
help? Please help. And you would see that this is happening for years and years. And one of the things that stood out for me the best was this lady who is 86 that saw me in the press. She had not been herself since she was 14, but she's 86. She read about me, reached out to me, and she was a bit insecure, but she opened up, like later on, opened up because I create that safe space where people can feel heard, accepted, and totally supported without any kind of judgment. So this person was able to feel that they can open up. And she said, Josephine, I am 86. You're literally my granddaughter. And she said, I'm not a racist, but you're a black girl. And I have been to so many doctors. I've sometimes missed appointments. No one could get me. No one could understand me. No one could help me. And you have been able to help me. I've never felt like this. Since that day, we are now best friends. It's like
Oh, what a
we know
wonderful story.
it's like now best friends. This is the power of taking ownership, the power of opening up and sharing and not hiding from what is eating you up.
Isn't that an interesting thing? Because often, when with whatever it is that we're going through, we often think, oh, I just don't want to tell anybody about that. I'm just going, I'm just going to keep it all to myself, not through selfishness, but through the fear of judgment, through the fear of sharing my story with others and being judged for it. But when you do that, as you've found out, when you start to share your story, other people get to listen. They go, that sounds like me. I can relate to that. I'm
Mm,
resonating with what it is that she's talking about. And through that whole process, it's always a symbiotic type, it becomes a symbiotic relationship, because as much as you're sharing, it's
mm.
therapeutic for you as
It
much as it's
is.
therapeutic for the person who's actually hearing. And like the story you just told about that 86-year-old woman, being able to connect with someone like you who just gets her and understands her, and just
Mm,
creating a safe space that she's able to just get it out. That was
mhm.
therapy enough to get her
Yeah,
to the point where, she's more lively now.
she is. And she's recommended so many other people as well to speak to me. And I feel that that's what we need. Sharing your message and story from a personal lived experience has more meaning than someone who is just doing something else, because you know what you're talking about. You have lived it, and
Yeah.
you know the loopholes of where to which recommendations, which sharing that you can do, how to help other people open up and feel like actually you're not alone. You think
Well, there's
you
a
are.
major difference, right? Through teaching through theory rather
Yeah,
than teaching through the experience, because you really truly know and understand, because you've been there and you've experienced that as part of your journey too. So
yeah.
Josephine, tell us a little bit about your book. So your book's called Revolutionary Breakthrough, Setback to Purposeful Comeback. So tell us a little bit about that and where people can find it.
So yeah, the revolutionary breakthrough, how to turn your setback into a purposeful comeback, was purposely written when I didn't think that the book would come live, or I would be here when the book was being written, because I was trying to write something to leave behind for someone to find when I'm not here. I'm so grateful that I am here, and it's about a personal life, the things that I went through, the things that I've been able to pull through, how my son has helped me to get back up, the power of networking, it talks about the power of networking, it talks about how to open up and speak about yourself, and now to not feel that what you're going through can actually define you if you do not allow it. It's bringing all the certain areas of my life, of what I struggled with over the past 4 years, to where to August when I got it published, and it's on Amazon. So you just type in my name, Josephine Kalagira, and yeah, it's from a very deep me to come back up, and it just means the world.
Well, fantastic. I mean, I know what it takes to, write a book and then get that published. So again, congratulations for getting that out. It's a big achievement. But I'm going to make sure that our team actually puts the link so that you guys are able to go to Amazon and be able to find that book really easily. So Robin Helm is popping that in the description right now. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, it'll also be in the description section in the podcast. So you'll be able to go ahead and get a copy of that book. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was what I found quite fascinating about that, Josephine, is that you started writing that for the purposes of, I'm going to leave this behind in the hope that somebody will find it when I'm gone. Now, one of the and I don't think you would be alone when people are writing their memoirs or writing, their stories of their life and their life experiences and, their advice, etc. You're often writing it from that point of view. Why was it that you were writing it at that time for somebody to find when you're no longer here? And how did it come about that it actually did get published and you are still here today? Like, what was the shift there?
So the shift was that I didn't see a purpose of living. I was struggling. I was physically incapable of doing the things that I used to do myself. I could not just wake up and go and do the things that I wanted to do, not even get into the bathroom. I could just be supported, and it was just a terrible experience. And seeing my son, like, his face was like, he could smile, but not from, you could see that there was some kind of trauma in him, and I could not bear seeing him go through that. Of course, I lost my mind. I put my hand up and said, you know what, I didn't see my way back up. But again, it brings me back to my setback to come back. What is my reason? Why did I have to find a reason bigger than myself to get back up? Because my son needs me. When am a single parent and my son needed me, and I needed to turn it around. What are the things that I went to do to say, do you know what? No, my son needs me. I am not a failure. I kept affirming to myself that it can be the end of the world. And when I had people that I shared with and they came back to me with some wonderful feedback, and I was like, do you know what? This was purposely for that reason. I'm going to turn it into a book. Because I overheard someone one time, do you know, if you've been doing something A, B, C, D, you can turn that into a book? And I'm like, oh, can I? And that's how it all started. And then I started to swift it around. But I didn't want to change all of it because it's like a setback to now come back. I was like, you know what? It has to go out there. And it was like, when that book got published, it was like a big load came off me to now own myself even more.
That is fabulous. I good on you for actually getting it out there. It's a lot of work to do that, and I know that by you, I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, you could have just kept that all, in a drawer, and one day somebody may have found that, and one person would have read it. But because you've taken the action, you've said, you know what, I'm actually going to take a stand for this. I'm going to stand firm on what my beliefs are and the way in which I have, made my comeback. And I'm now going to use this book and use my voice to stand out and share my experience with others so that they too can, they can have a comeback. They can find my story motivational and inspiring and enable them to create a level of hope and opportunity for their own lives. So I want to ask you this question, Josephine. If you were to give yourself or to give other women right now who are faced with a setback in their life a piece of advice, what would the piece of advice be? What would be the most important thing that you would tell them?
They need to be themselves and not pretend to be anyone else. Just be yourself, be congruent, like deeply, like tune into yourself, shut yourself, like put the blinkers on and tune into yourself. Who are you really? Who are you? What is it that you want? Why do you want it? Is it that makes you truly happy from within, or are you just saying, I'm gonna do this because I need to make someone happy? It has to come from the heart, and take
Mm.
that stand that is from the heart and do that. And once I did that myself, I feel so proud that last year my son on International World Book Day dressed up as me on International World Book Day as his hero. And he said, Mom, I don't want to dress up as anyone else. I don't want to do anything else. You're just perfect the way you are. And I'm so proud of you. And on this day, I want to dress up as you. And I want to go to school dressed as
Oh,
you.
he
So
what?
it takes from when you take a stand and be yourself, people, you will attract the mind alive people. If sometimes people are scared of, if I'm me, my friends are gonna run away, they'll go away because they know, you'll be attracting the wrong people. But once you're you, the right people will come to you.
Absolutely. And that's a message that is echoed throughout this show. It's echoed throughout everything that I do in my businesses, and also in the other show that I host called Unlocked. Actually being yourself, that is your point, that is your major point of difference. And it means that you don't have to compete with anybody else ever,
Yeah,
because you're uniquely you. And when you can
yeah,
stand in that power, you can stand. And I love the fact that you're like, just take a moment to just ask yourself, who am I? What is it that I really want in this lifetime that I have? And how am I going to make the most of it? How am I going to look to the positives and the things that I can do rather than focusing on the things that I can't do? So, amazing pieces of wisdom and amazing advice from you today. I want to say thank you so much for being on today's show. I do want to give you an opportunity to share anything else that you would like to share before we finalize today's show. But I want to say thank you very much. Absolutely amazing and inspiring what you do. And thank you for staying up till, goodness knows what crazy hour there in the UK to actually be here with us tonight. I appreciate that. And our viewers appreciate that a lot.
thank you so very much. Thank you so much for having me as well. So, for anyone of the listeners, if you are watching me and you've enjoyed or got inspired, I have got like a free private group called like Thrive and Shine Through Your Setbacks. It offers emotional and well-being support, and that's where you can connect with me. And yeah, I just want you to be you. I want you to know that your well-being is any of our well-being as well. If you're happy, I am happy as well. And it just takes, you just have to take a stand and listen to your heart. You know when you know who you should listen to, get support from, and why you should do that. You will know if you take that stand and listen to your heart.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Josephine. So everybody, you can head on over. It's on Facebook, right? So they can go to give us that page again.
Is thrive and shine through your setbacks.
Thrive and shine through your setbacks. Go and find that on Facebook, and you'll be able to join Josephine's private free Facebook group, and you'll be able to get some additional support there. So thank you so much for being here today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back again with another episode of Take a Stand with another amazing woman who has done fantastic things to thrive in their business, their family, and their life. Next Thursday, Brisbane, 10 a.m. Australia time. So I'll see you guys then. Bye for now.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Bye, everybody.